Hello and welcome everybody. I've got a special guest here today. With me is Rafamir, the Rafamir from Rafamir's Designs, who did the DM Lawmasters charts for the One Ring by Free League, the TTRPG.
Wonderful to be here. Thanks for making time for this.
Can you tell us a thing or two about yourself? Like, what is it we should know about you?
Yeah, so I grew up in the 70s and 80s and found Dungeons and Dragons very early. I had the white box edition, so I was already someone who drew a lot, and I started drawing pictures of all my characters and all the adversaries and so on and so forth. I had a couple of friends from college whom I reconnected with, and a couple of newer friends, and between us, we started playing every week or so. Then, life began to return to normal from the lockdown. So we moved to about every 2 to 3 weeks. Nowadays, it's about once a month. But we're on session 114 of our campaign. So,
Wow, that's quite something.
we were about a year or so into our game and adventures in Middle Earth when the alpha edition of the second edition of the One Ring came out in PDF form, and I was a backer of the Kickstarter. And I looked at the rule set and went, "Wow, this implements Middle Earth so much better than 5e can manage." But like I said, it had been 30 years since I'd been a lore master. I'd only just started playing Dungeons and Dragons again before the pandemic with another group, and I realized that my brain couldn't absorb rule books the way it did when I was a teenager.
Right.
So from the alpha PDF, I started to kind of write notes on a piece of paper of how combat works. And I realized that my players who were not going to dedicate as much time as I already was to learning the game
Uh-huh.
needed some kind of crutch. They needed some kind of cheat sheet. And so rather than calling it a cheat sheet, I gave it the lofty name of Lore Master Charts. I have the Lore Master
No way.
screen here from Free League, and it's got this
Wow.
beautiful Martin Grip artwork on it.
Is
The charts, it's got a lot of the tables from the rules, and they're organized, but I wanted something that would sort of be like uh, a teaching tool for my
Yes.
players. And the thing that I realized was going to be the hardest to explain to them coming from D&D was how combat works with damage and
Yeah.
fatigue and load and piercing blow and all these things. And
Right.
so I gathered that all together into one sheet and called it Wear and Tear. And one of the reasons I did that was because the bits on that sheet are all over the rule book. Endurance is on pages 22, 69,
Right.
70, and 71. Hope is also similarly spread out, but also discussed on 137. Wounds are page 101, along with first aid. Rather than creating a lore master screen, I was really creating a different kind of play aid that was something that could be referred to during the game, or it could be referred to between sessions for figuring out, okay, I've got skill points to spend. How do I do that? Or we've got a fellowship phase coming up next session. So what are the benefits that I can accrue during a fellowship phase? What I've done is with these lore master charts is created, a binder where they're back to back on each other.
That is
So I
wonderful.
can have two charts open at any time during a play session.
That is really nice. And I think
And
one can order this, right, on your webpage?
yes,
I think I
so that's
saw.
at ko-fi.com, Rafamir. And,
Right.
you know, it really started as something for my players and for myself. And I added on one about the shadow, and I added one on journeys and one on councils, because I figured there was going to be an uphill battle with my players to get them to buy into the new rule system. It was so removed from Dungeons and Dragons. It didn't use a
Right.
20-sided die.
Did you expect this kind of success?
No, I posted a few examples on Discord as a way of sort of getting some feedback and showing off something I'd spent some time on. And the feedback was very enthusiastic, and I think it filled a need of the rules being so spread out in the core rule book
Yes.
that having something that elegantly brought them together was appreciated. So I got some great feedback. It was extremely helpful for helping me realize, one, I'd gotten a lot of things right, and then, oh, I missed that rule or this other one. And again, not having that teenage brain anymore that memorized everything so fully. Now I could sort of bring an older person's middle-aged brain
The wisdom.
yes, the wisdom, exactly. It was gratifying to see a lot of, thumbs and little Gandalf runes and so forth pop up on Discord. And I really, there's always the question of when you hang something on a web page like Ko-Fi and charge for it, why are you doing that? So I do have to bring my wife into this, who was complaining about how much I was spending time tinkering on these things,
Oh my.
and she was, she runs her own business. She's the one who pushed me into posting this on a website where I could
Oh,
charge for it. So, it's striking that balance of putting something out there that's going to be useful to people, creating content. I have plans for more content to go on there, and it's really just a matter of that work-life balance of finding the time and space to take some of the other things I've developed and perfect
absolutely.
them for hanging on there. What was most surprising was having people reach out. So there's something about the community, the international community that's grown up around games that was beyond my comprehension. To take something that I've labored over and created this PDF and then see it in another language, first in French, then in German, and not having read the rule books in those languages, but to see the same layout, but someone's done all this beautiful effort to put it into another language. That was huge. I think coming to the One Ring was really through my board gaming interests and discovering War of the Ring. Also, I became playtester for the expansions for War of the Ring,
Wow.
and that I think really started to get my brain working in the direction of using that creativity that comes from playing role-playing games and looking at how can we, as this pool of playtesters supporting the designers, uh, use that kind of creativity to make suggestions for the designers to implement. Really, before the One Ring and all the lore master charts and so forth, all that creative energy went into creating my own expansion that I've also put on Board Game Geek,
Right.
called The Treason of Isengard. To bring it back to what we were discussing, it's that fusion of rule sets and creativity. And to what degree, for instance, in board games, are you limited by the rule set because
Yes.
everyone has to play by those rules to have it be a competitive game and function within that tight rule set? Whereas role playing, it's more about well, depending on the game system, it's less about the rules and more about the role playing.
Yes.
And there's an area in between where you've got different role playing games that have more tactical, rules heavy. And I think the One Ring was a beautiful introduction to rules light in the
Yes.
sense of not counting the arrows, not counting the coins,
Yes.
and really focusing on relationships, councils, and then to find a game that captures that theme. And so I
Yes.
really have to, name check the designers, Francesco Nepitello and Marco Maggi. They just brought that same DNA, that same love, that same
Absolutely.
teenage passion to creating that game.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
just so amazed at what they've achieved.
Yeah, this Alan Lee and John Ho style they sort of adapted and brought into the art book. Right, starting with the cover, Rafamir's unofficial Loremaster charts version 1.8 updated to core rules third printing. So if there isn't another printing, it just stays like this because there's no need to sort of update it, right?
I don't think so. Other people have been creating wonderful handouts and cheat sheets. So it's really a find what works for you kind of environment. This is meant really as a reference. Really, I designed it for myself for when I'm running a game so that I'm not picking up the whole book and keeping my players waiting. If you go to the table of contents,
Yes.
there's 2 pages on journeys. and there were too many rules to fit onto one page. On their journey, I flipped to the two journey pages. There's 2 pages on combat basics, and combat actions. So I have those at the ready when we're doing a combat. There's a separate page on adversaries because the adversaries have slightly different rules for combat than the players do.
Absolutely.
So in all of that, it's and I think that was one of the things that I struggled to get my head around when I was learning the rule set was, oh, it's not that everyone has armor class and everyone has a to hit roll. It's sort of divided up where for the players, they need to do this, and the adversaries, when I'm running them, work a slightly different way.
Yes.
Having those summarized separately allowed me to organize my thoughts and get my head around that much more easily
Yes.
in the process.
So it starts then after the table of contents with character creation.
Yeah, I think that the piece that I've been working on that I haven't published yet is separate pages for different cultures, because there's all the nuances of what your derived attributes are, what virtues you can look forward to adding. Other than that, all those sort of really culture-specific things, this character creation quick guide was a way of putting this in front of players and saying, okay, you're creating a character, these are the steps,
Yes.
and not having to page through the book, but having a copy of the book there for reference. So with the new starter set, I just started running that about a month ago.
Oh, really?
With the regular local D&D group that I have. And they're all 5e players, completely new to this. So having a nice chart to put in front of them and print it out on cardstock and make it all very official really helped the character creation process move forward quickly.
What I love about this page most is the standard of living in a table, because I was looking like crazy for this in the book.
Yes, there's little niche rules in there also. That standard of living also governs how good your armor can be,
Yeah.
but that's on the armor page. So, you know, in terms of updating this, there might be a point where I have a brainwave and go, oh, that's something my players are constantly asking about. Maybe we need to change the orientation of a character creation sheet, have this kind of chart on it.
Yes.
Because what it doesn't do is it doesn't answer the question that a lot of people coming from Dungeons and Dragons have, which is
Yeah.
where's the weapons chart? Where's the armor chart? And you know, we use the book for that, but when you come from Dungeons and Dragons, that's almost part of the character creation. It's like, what kind of sword is he holding?
Many different kind of players find their way into that rulebook on their own aspects, as in, well, I get to have an elven sword and it's buffed by an artifact. It is possible.
We're talking about famous war gear because I think that's where those sorts of rules are implemented in this system, but it's another beauty of the One Ring system is tying the activation of special abilities that your magical weapon may have
Yes.
to your advancement in terms of your valor.
Yes.
And you know, that was one of the pieces that sort of helped me fall in love with this rule set, was seeing how intertwined the advancement of the character was to the quality of their gear. And it wasn't just that you were spending points or gold pieces on that better gear. It was that somehow you were cosmically recognized as being worthy of activating these abilities.
Oh, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah, but it's right. It's true. It's Bilbo that steps into the troll cave and finds Sting, because it was time.
Yes. I think one of the things I'd like to jump to is the fellowship phase. Summarizing the fellowship phase in one page, and then there's a second page on advancement, was a way again of keeping my players focused and not having them drift away from the game, and being able to just in Roll20 drop the undertakings chart in as a graphic and say, remember this is in my, you know, fellowship phase chart, or between sessions to send out the fellowship phase chart as a reminder. And by the time we came back to the next session, there'd be some discussion about which undertakings they were going to do during that fellowship phase, but having it centralized as a quick reference,
Yes.
again, made it easier for them to come to a conclusion. It's one thing to just play hack and slash Dungeons and Dragons and
Right.
just, what can I kill next, to
Right.
telling a story that has continuity, and these undertakings flesh out that story and that continuity.
And I like the Yule undertaking, as in the whole winter will be spent someplace and they return, and it has been a couple of months. And your characters sort of get to act out, hey, I haven't seen you for 3 months or so. Speaking of which, so you've got journeys.
The rules are fairly simple for journeys, and it's really building a story onto those little prompts. And so Strider mode is a perfect example of fleshing out those charts with a bit more detail and giving more ideas of how things might play out.
Yeah.
And it's no longer just a die roll on a chart. All of a sudden, everyone's got this shared illusion of the world that they're in.
Right, right. And it's all of a sudden it's there. In other games, you probably have to look at the map and think. In a tabletop RPG, you don't sort of, you don't actually get the visualization and get to look around. But with this, with these events, you sort of, all of a sudden it pops up from the ground. Oh, there's, I don't know, an old tomb you came across and you hear a scream. Now, what do you do?
Yeah, the thing that really works about this rule set is that it's prompts, and Lore Master Screen has some of these charts there. What these summaries that I've created do is just allow me to run the game that much more efficiently,
Right.
because the other information that I needed is there to hand. I can check, oh, with mounts, you have the journey length calculated above. Okay, great. There's just little reminders to myself,
Yes.
and I really have to credit the designers at every step, because the only thing I've done here is synthesized their rules into a form that made it easier for me to play the game more efficiently. The beauty of their rule set lent itself to doing this kind of project.
Absolutely.
Um,
It was all there.
I don't know if I could do the same thing for the 5e implementation. I don't have the same love for the Lord of the Rings rule set as I do for the One Ring,
I
but
see.
maybe that's just something I need to acquaint myself with more and more.
And what you did was you gave us pace, because when people were journeying and they were preparing for the journey and they stepped out the door and then they chose, oh, I'm gonna be scout, you're gonna be lookout, and I'm gonna be hunter. And I was like, oh wait, hold on a second, and I got the book. So you roll this and you do that. No, now it's all on one page, and it's really quick, and it gives people the pole position, the setup, and it's all there, and they just play away. They just start. That's what you did, and we all thank you for that. Now,
That's
personally.
great. I'm glad that was your experience. There's something delicious about how well Tolkien translates into German. But what was your experience of translating it into German? How did that go?
It was a need for me to translate it. Some words just weren't my choice to translate it this or that way. I believe I sometimes thought Google Translate what they did with the word, and it was confusing. So first, I wanted to have neat words for it, and second, I want to have correct terms for it.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing that work. I think it's a good test of the rule set when it makes sense in another language.
When I translated your charts, I found no mistake. It's all correct. It's all there. No typo, no nothing. You did a great
Well,
job.
thank you, and I do have to credit the Discord community for reviewing it. A few things were put in. Also, the French translator was helpful, identifying a few things as well. And
Right.
that give and take is part of the creative process. The username is Nefal. Really helped me out. The other person that I haven't name checked here is a guy named Dan Algstrand, who is the layout person for Free League. I'm embarrassed to promote these charts when it's a rule set designed by Francesco and Marco, and I'm copying or doing homage to the layout work that Dan did in the books.
Right.
I just can't tell you how excited I was when this Kickstarter came out for the second edition of the One Ring,
Right.
that the just whole look and feel of it, the illustrations, the layout, everything looked like something that I was going to fall in love with. And so if anything, this PDF is a love letter to the designers and
Oh,
to the layout people. And I'm just building on their shoulders.
awesome. That is very honorable of you. So thank you
All
so
right.
much for giving this interview and being here and discussing your wonderful DM charts.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, Ben. It's wonderful to meet you.
Absolutely.